Ladies and gentlemen, this is Colin Dawson, and I'm here again with Lockdown Movie Reviews. I just want to say this one movie, I went out and saw it. Not many people really probably liked it or anything else. I'm always a Chris Evans fan for a lot of reasons. I also love Dakota Fanning and most of the other cast in here. I know I'm going to mess up the name because I've not heard it on television for a while. Jaman Hunso. He's also another great actor that lends his talents to this, as well as many of the other supporting cast in it. I think that it was a very good, thought out storyline in increasing the kind of situation that always comes up every 10 years or something. There's a new movie that kind of retakes anything over psi ops and psi weaponry from a human standpoint and tries to move it on in a new situation. I think this is the perfect installment for how it's kind of been ever since the original Manchurian Candidate and then anything else afterwards from there, going back and forth with technology versus biology, as well as, yes, it's very popularized in the X-Men movies, everything else, but this one makes it a little bit more like there's an actual reality to it, with certain people that are able to track the individual's whereabouts, anything else, hunt them down across the world, remote viewing, wiping memories clean, minor telepathy where they can control people, implant thoughts, or even use telekinetics to push back bullets or anything of that nature. There's several different scenarios that come up in here, mostly that there is a government agency or the governments or even criminal agents are trying to hold in these families made up of superpowered human people that can have some amount of, maybe not like the X-Men, but very close to it, and then government agencies to try to control them, using different serums or something else to enhance their abilities. Many people, they end up killing off. That's why there's not that many of them, and they hide out in certain areas. One area, Hong Kong, where there's supposedly no government and it's kind of a free-for-all zone. Looking at how it is right now, this movie was a little bit of a foreshadowing situation. It's what they claim is happening now over in Hong Kong, and it's being brought under an actual governmental rule. Now, in saying all that, politics aside, I think the acting was spot on in it for a lot of it. I think it showed the abilities to go back and forth. I don't think it overacted any of it. I will say a lot of the actors do have subtleties in their situation, which the fact that they bring their subtleties to it makes the situation seem more believable. So they can go along with a lot of it. A lot of them have played in a lot of supernatural movies, things like that. And while I did hear from one person back when the movie was out and I went to see it in movie theaters, that it was a situation where the actors had played the parts too many times, I think that that's really not the case. I don't think it was a typecast movie or anything else. I think that they were just able to go through it professionally. And since it was in a micro world inside the world, bring their familiarity with parts similar to that to make it look more believable in these small little closed off parts of Hong Kong or the Orient where they were at, and keeping their little isolated world, which people don't really realize happens all across the city. Any city that you can think of. People rent out the restaurant or else go there when only a few people are there, and that's just what happens. With everything being said unto that, the great situation of this movie is the question that it brings up between governments, families, and then those that kind of create their own unit. Is it really the individuals that create their own unit together that are similar in each other? Are they the criminal element that kind of makes their own government based off of a type of quasi royalty to criminal enterprise with a specialized talent for one of them basically dominating? Or is it the government that controls everything out there? And at the end of it, we're left wondering which one was the stronger telepath, as the Chris Evans character still holds out hope for his lover to come back to them and start, as he says, telling the truth and take over the government agency, kill off her boss, and take his place, and then they'll all be set free in a way to go and live their lives and do what they do. Such is the situation out of most areas. It's just there's a three-way antagonistic situation going on in this one instead of a normal two-way antagonistic. Each one has to decide for themselves what they're going to do and which way they're going to go in this life or death situation. With people that can push bullets back with their mind, push other people's minds to do whatever they want, even commit suicide, or that they can see the future based on what events have happened and then guide how everything goes. White people's minds completely clean of anything, and then all still stay under the radar of any real public knowledge. Everyone's their own little secret government in this one, and it shows. The way that they have the restaurants emptied out, sectioned off to themselves, private planes, very backroom alley dealings, places where technology is not really used that much. And in a way, I love the scenery and cinematography of it, with how it keeps things to a minimalist situation in it, and how the smaller apartments and everything really do come through in the Hong Kong situation in Southeast Asia. It has a really good feel for it, where most of the time in Southeast Asia they show the big water markets, everything else like that, and don't really show the smaller nook and crannies of life. And I think it lends to the fact of how they can hide themselves secretly in society, and lends its way to the believability of the movie and the sincerity of the characters and the plot and cast situations that are all coming up throughout it. In the end, they do end up in a final showdown in a futuristic high-rise, not yet finished, under construction, and as such, it kind of shows a glimpse of what could be the future, could be this, but yet, due to the fact that none of the factions can get along with themselves, leads to its destruction with many of the characters that have been throughout the movie. And then there's a final situation that's shown where the people are able to finally regroup together later, and we're left wondering, will there be another? But just like how this type of movie always has one that kind of anchors it every decade for, is there something to ESP, special human abilities, that the government's people or criminal element is somehow using for their advantage? I think this is that movie that does anchor it for this decade. From the black and white days all the way up to here. Even though they're not the same genre, as in the same movie franchise that most people look at it as, it is one of those that continues the myth going just perfectly. This is Colin Dawson with Lockdown Movie Reviews. Like and subscribe.